the actual vetting, and I will recognize Asafo Ajay to start with his questions. Honorable Asafo Ajay, you have the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Honorable Minister, I would like to congratulate you once again. I am a Japan boy, so it serves well to have one of us being here. But Mr. Nominee, I am a bit worried, particularly with the diplomatic posturing of our president when it comes to the Sahel Trio and how it would impact on the image of Ghana as a democratic country. What do you think of it?
Well, thank you very much. It's a very important question you have asked. And interestingly, ECOWAS will be 50 years this year, and Ghana is likely to host the 50-year celebrations. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama believes that our regional integration agenda should be pursued and should not be abandoned. And so even though our three closest neighbors, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, broke away from ECOWAS, and only this week their breakaway became effective. ECOWAS announced that they have completed the cessation. We need to be conscious of the fact that as closest neighbors, even though we are promoting democracy and we have all said no to coups, we face serious threats. The threat of violent extremism and terrorism. And so, as good neighbors, President Mahama is of the view that he should not give up on dialogue. Article 40 and Article 73 of the 1992 Constitution enjoins the President and all of us who will be working in the foreign service space that our strategic national interest should always be at the center of our foreign policy considerations. If you have your neighbors who are being totally taken over with extremism, terrorism, and indeed, all our neighbors have been attacked except Ghana. And we know that if situation gets out of hand, the economic crisis also worsen, we will be affected. We are trading partners as well, and we have historic ancestral ties. There are many Ghanaians who trace their roots from Burkina Faso, from Niger, from Mali. So it is very strategic for President Mahama to say that I want to help resolve this Sahelian crisis. And that is why he appointed the respected Venerable Flight Lieutenant Colonel Bevlolate, who was an AU envoy on counterterrorism and also has the military clout and very close relations with some of these military leaders. So it is in our strategic national interest, as Article 40 and Article 73 enjoins us. And that is what informs President Mahama's posture when it comes to our three neighbors who have formed AES.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm following up on that. Honourable Minister, don't you think that our colleagues within the ECOWAS will be disappointed on the position the President has taken when they also have a different position?
The indications are that our neighbors are rather impressed with President Mahama's approach. They are really impressed that all of them were at his inauguration. And remember that even before President Mahama's intervention, ECOWAS did not just alienate them. ECOWAS took steps to dialogue, even appointed an envoy to try to talk to them to come back. Because some of the things they want to do, have a new passport, have a new bank, a new trading bloc, it will really undermine our quest for regional integration. And the further bastardization and balkanization of the region is not what will help our collective economic interests, particularly at the time we are talking about the continental free trade arrangement, So I can assure you, my respected colleague, that these are steps in the strategic national interest of our country, and it is very welcoming. And I think that we should, as a House, support President Mahama to achieve his objectives. I think it will be to our collective credit if during our tenure as leaders in Parliament and in the executive, we were able to talk to our good neighbors to come back into the ECOWAS fold. I think that it will really be a good icing on the cake as ECOWAS celebrates 50 years in existence.
The Chairman, I want to ask the nominee again.
That is your second question.
That's my second question, I admit. Having attended, work with AU, attended several meetings, Ghana has always taken a position when it comes to Kosovo and Serbia. When it comes to Sahrawi Republic, we even call them the Western Sahara, and Morocco. And then the Palestine and Israel. I mean, the past government had a position. What will be your position vis-a-vis that of the President John Mahama's position when it comes to these countries, and we all know what is between them?
This is a very interesting question on geopolitics and what should be our geopolitical positioning. And I would like to make reference to our foreign policy, which Osajefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah presented to this House on the 16th of December, 1959. He talked about Ghana's foreign policy being positively neutral, that we shall not look left or right, we shall look forward. And that is why, after that, he collaborated with his colleagues to establish the non-aligned movement in 1961. So Kwame Nkrumah said that as much as possible, we shall seek to be friends of all and enemies to none. So our posture will remain same. We will seek to be good friends to all of these countries. But being good friends, as Kwame Nkrumah said on the 16th of December 1959, doesn't mean that if along the line there is a misstep, you engage in some violation of international law, you go against the rule-based order, it does not mean that we will not speak out or point it out to you. That is even what shows that we are really good friends. So in these countries you have listed, there are matters that are concerning. For example, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. We take the view that the humanitarian crisis there is totally unconscionable and unacceptable. And it is with dismay that we will continue to urge for a resolution of the Middle East crisis. We remain committed to the two-state solution so far as the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is concerned. We do not align with hardliners on both sides who say that one state should be totally annihilated, does not deserve to exist. No. We say that let's respect the UN resolution, a two-state solution. On Western Sahara, you may have heard that on the eve of President Akufo-Addo's departure, he instructed that we cut ties with Western Sahara. That certainly has created some anxiety and nervousness, and it marked quite a major departure from our position in the 1960s, 70s, and the 1980s. And you recall that we, in 1982, championed the cause of Western Sahara, which led to Morocco exiting the OAU, as it was known at the time, in 1982. So it was a very significant development, and a lot of our allies on the left are looking at Ghana's new posture. I can assure you that because this is a very sensitive matter, we will be open-minded. We will study exactly what the considerations were, what the experts advised President Akufo-Addo to take such a consequential decision. I mean, when you are in government, you may know things that others would not know. I mean, he receives national security briefings. He is at ECOWAS, OAU, AU now, and all of that, UN. So we want to keep an open mind. We will go and study what the considerations were, what analysis went into this decision. But the assurances I can give you, based on our foreign policy, is that we remain friends of all, enemies of none, even if diplomatic ties may appear strained, as it is now in the Western Sahara question. It does not mean that our good friends in Western Sahara, we are going to disown them or cut ties with them in terms of the real people-to-people, cultural, and, if you like, ideological ties with them. But it's a sensitive matter. We will go and study it, and then we will look at the way forward. I agree with you that they have allies on both sides. Of course, the Algerians are not happy because of this decision. The Moroccans have welcomed it. They are excited about it. But we need to balance forces based on our strategic national interests. And we will look into it and see how best we find a resolution moving forward.
Thank you. I think I like how you responded, because Ghana has always taken a position, but that's fine. Like you mentioned, you would get to find out in the ministry. I agree. Mr. Nominee, I also want to know, we have a foreign policy. Everybody knows that, non-aligned and all that. But we have also taken some critical interest in international issues, climate change and all that. What is our country's international environmental policy?
Another very important question, and for our generation, that is perhaps the most significant question. Will the human race survive if global warming, the ongoing climate change disruptions continue, if we do not change our way of life? And that is why the COP meetings have become so crucial. Unfortunately, the big players and the big polluters, we are not seeing consistency. They don't want to come to the table really following the science. There are some countries who are saying that they don't even really believe in the science and that it's probably exaggerated. What I like about the foreign ministry is that we facilitate these engagements amongst key sectors. So on climate change, the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology will be the lead ministry. The Lands Ministry will also play a role, and I'm glad that I see the respected former Lands Minister at today's hearings. I know he took part in a lot of the climate change discussions. I followed those meetings keenly. So we will not be the lead ministry when it comes to climate change. It will be the Ministry of Environment, then the Lands Ministry. But we are happy to coordinate, to facilitate the meetings, and to make sure that Ghana is committed to our international obligations. And having said that, let me register our unhappiness at the latest withdrawal by the United States of America from the Paris Climate Accord. That was a very key intervention in the climate change agenda. Ghana played a leading role, I recall, under former President Mahama when he was president at the time. That has clearly created a disruption, but we will continue to urge our big brothers and sisters to come back to the climate change agenda and to commit to a new global order when it comes to climate issues. So that's how I respond.
Thank you.
Chairman, a last follow-up on this. The nominee,
Honorable member.
It's a last follow-up.
You are either asking your last question. You are entitled to one follow-up, which you have asked. So you either move to your last question. After this, I'll give you no opportunity.
I'm going to my last question. Yes, I'm going to my last question. Yes, sure. Mr. Nominee, this, I think it is for the jury out there. There have been a lot of concerns about our female in the Western, the UAE, particularly inhumane treatment, abuses and all that. Even though we admit that it is out of their own private businesses and other things that lands them there, it has some implications on our international imagery. What is going to be the position of this government on this mass movement to UAE, and then it will come back to us as a whole lot of inhumane abuses and all that? What will be the clear-cut position of this government?
Once again, let me commend you for this well-researched question. And this is a matter that I am very passionate about. One of the priority areas that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has tasked me to work on is how the Foreign Ministry is repositioned to help resolve the unemployment crisis in our country. Unemployment has moved from about 8.6% in 2016 to 14.7% currently, according to the Ghana Statistical Service. We need to make sure that this migration that is going on because of the search for employment benefits our country, it is regulated, and it's a win-win situation. Countries like Cuba, Indonesia, because of their strategic foreign policy, have been able to use their foreign policy. They sign bilateral agreements with other countries. They export labor. So their citizens are well catered for because everything has been signed, is done legally. So their rights are protected. A portion of revenue goes to the country, and then there's another portion that goes to the workers, particularly the Cuban Medical Brigade, if we are to look at the Cuban model. So under my leadership, I will seek to aggressively pursue economic diplomacy in a way that allows for bilateral agreements to be signed. There are many countries looking for Ghanaian nurses, looking for Ghanaian teachers, looking for Ghanaian professionals, looking for Ghanaian workers in the domestic setting, artisans. Why can't we take advantage of that to solve our unemployment crisis and also to regulate the space so that what is happening in the Gulf to some of our workers, our fellow compatriots, is addressed? When these receiving countries know that the labor they have received is not from some clandestine agency engaged in some, human trafficking operation, they will be mindful in how they treat these workers. So expect that one of our priority areas will be using foreign policy to address unemployment. We can make sure that brain drain becomes brain gain, where these bilateral agreements will help create jobs for the young people of our country. You go out there to the UK as a nurse, as a doctor, if it's probably for a 5-year period, you get some new skills, you build capacity, you can decide to come back with some good, foreign currency, and the country also benefits. So expect that we will formalize these arrangements and we'll be very deliberate and aggressive about it to create jobs for our young people.